I imagine your answer to the question on the screen is yes, so I'm going to introduce you to a man who has helped 20 million people escape from poverty. I'll show you how you can build a business to help transform the lives of 100 million people, and I'll explain how you can live a life of meaning while earning a good living. Perhaps you don't know quite how to change the world, but you've been thinking that working in business might be the way. If that's the case, this seminar is for you. You'll learn the fundamental techniques that will enable you to help millions of people escape from poverty, an approach termed zero-based design that will help you do well by doing good. Now I'm going to introduce you to that very special man. The man whose picture you see on your screen is Dr. Paul Polak. After practicing psychiatry for 23 years, Dr. Polak dedicated himself to ending poverty in the world, and he's been engaged in that work for more than 30 years. Of course, thousands of other people have set out to end poverty through foreign aid or philanthropy, the World Bank, the UN, but none of their methods ever managed to go to scale. Dr. Polak is unique in that his work, beginning in the early 1980s, has actually helped 20 million people lift themselves out of poverty in some of the poorest and most challenging countries on the planet. During the next short while, you'll learn the secrets of Dr. Polak's success. You'll learn how you can build a profitable company that will directly address the needs of the world's poor. You'll understand the simple techniques that Dr. Polak has developed that will enable you to provide thousands of jobs and take your business to global scale. In short, you'll learn how you can build a truly satisfying life consistent with your most deeply held values as you help end the scourge of poverty forever. My name is Mal Warwick. That's me in the lower left-hand corner, and I'm able to explain all this to you because over the last 2 years I've been working closely with Dr. Polak. We've written a new book together called The Business Solution to Poverty. And I'm proud to say that our book has received rave reviews from former President Bill Clinton, The Economist magazine, and many other prestigious observers and publications. And we've been included on 2 lists of the best books of 2013. I'm convinced that the reason we've gotten such an enthusiastic response is that, as Bill Clinton said, our approach is, quote, original, ambitious, and practical, end quote. And you're going to see in the next few minutes just how practical our ideas really are. Now, there aren't many problems or issues that are bigger or more urgent than the continuing tragedy of world poverty. Because the UN and the World Bank have been issuing press releases about how much progress they're making on ending poverty, few people know that today there are still more than 2.7 billion people who live on $2 a day or less. That's nearly 2 out of every 5 people on the planet, and it's more people than the world's total population in 1950 when the fight against poverty began. And keep in mind that poverty in the poor countries of the global south isn't about money alone. It's about lack of safe drinking water, lack of health care, poor education, inadequate shelter, and the lack of self-confidence that comes from living in the shadow of centuries of poverty. But there is a solution. There is a huge, untouched global market, 2.7 billion strong, that's hungry for products and services that can help transform lives. Electricity for kids to study at night and businesses to stay open. Agricultural tools and services that will greatly raise farm productivity and help farmers multiply their income. Safe drinking water that will drastically reduce childhood illnesses and help parents save money by avoiding bogus health remedies. There are literally dozens of such enormous business opportunities that brave new companies can take advantage of. But business as usual won't do the trick. What's required is a totally new way to conceive how to design, launch, and manage a business. A very special kind of business that will serve $2 a day customers with income-generating products and services and expand worldwide to attract 100 million customers or more. Dr. Polak and I call this new approach zero-based design. It's not a formula, but a way to build a radical new business from scratch without preconceptions or existing models to build on. And it all begins with listening to your prospective customers. To serve $2 a day customers, you have to start by understanding them, understanding their hopes and fears, their circumstances and priorities, their resources, their aspirations. You need to understand the context in which they live their lives. And you can only learn this by spending hours and hours talking to them, just as Dr. Polak did with the Nepali farmers in this photo and with more than 3,000 others living in small villages in some of the world's poorest countries. If you want to sell a product to these folks whose lives are so very different from your own, you've got to know whether they'd have any interest in buying it, what features would matter to them, how they would use it, and how much they would be willing and able to pay for it. And you need to know all that before you start designing the product itself. If you really want to help end global poverty, there's no point thinking about starting just another little company. You need to think big. You need to approach your new business to make a dent in the universe, as Steve Jobs said. And to do that, the products or services you set out to offer must be transformative, not just 20% better or 20% cheaper than what's already on the market, but something that is so dramatically superior as a solution to the problems living on $2 a day that it has the potential to sell in the hundreds of millions. Think of the iPhone and the Model T, not the latest and greatest mobile app. It's a mistake to think that people living on $2 a day or less have no money at all to pay for products and services. But it's certainly true that their funds are limited. Thus, any product or service you set out to sell to them must be not just a little less expensive than existing options, but dramatically so. That may mean using locally available materials and low-cost production facilities to drive down the price by 80 or 90%. It also means that you have to deliver great value. If you think customers are discerning in rich country markets, just wait until you try selling to $2 a day customers. You want to make a big difference, right? Helping end global poverty would certainly accomplish great impact, but that will require building a really big business. And that means designing your company for global scale from the outset. It means serving a market with at least 1 billion potential customers so that if you gain 10% market share, you'll help 100 million people escape from poverty. It means designing your product or service in such a way that it can be easily adapted to other environments and other cultures. For example, treadle pumps like the one shown in this slide, originally developed in Bangladesh, can now be found all across the global south, helping millions of poor farmers to multiply their income. It's simple, it's inexpensive, and it can be made from locally available materials. There's no point even thinking about designing your business to break even, thinking that the social impact will compensate for the lack of financial profits. Without profits, your business will not have the funds necessary to sustain itself, much less to grow. And if you're serious about helping to end global poverty, you'll need to grow your business at a rapid rate, expanding across national borders and probably over oceans as well. This will require capital. Unless you're exceedingly wealthy, you'll need to raise capital from investors, and you'll quickly find that it's not easy to raise money for high-risk ventures such as yours unless you can reasonably project very profitable operations. Investors demand returns on their money. The bigger, the higher the risk. Tackling global poverty in a serious way means doing business in rural areas where 70% of the world's poor still live, primarily in small villages. Few businesses have succeeded at the village level because they've been unable to solve the last mile problem of actually getting their goods into the hands of potential customers there. Your enterprise will need to be designed from the ground up with this in mind, and if you think about it clearly, you may conclude that the last mile problem can become a competitive advantage for you if you're prepared to recruit, train, and supervise a large workforce of local people who will distribute your products and services in their own and neighboring villages. And that approach has the added bonus of training and wages or salaries that also help combat global poverty. Now, is the special armored version of the Mercedes sedan pictured here worth its $160,000 price tag? How much of that sum do you think the company charges not for the product itself, but for the value of its brand? I won't pretend to know, but I can guarantee you it's a lot. People buy products not just for their utility, but for the psychic satisfaction their purchase delivers. And that psychological mechanism is doubly important among poor customers. The brands they favor must make them feel as though they're achieving something important by purchasing them. Your products and services must be branded as skillfully as a Mercedes to provide your customers with the sense that their lives are improving. This means creating not just a clever logo and color scheme, but a brand identity that will make your customers comfortable. Jugaad is a Hindi and Urdu term that means roughly a workaround or alternative solution to a problem using available resources because ideal solutions aren't available. In the United States, we talk about American ingenuity, which can have pretty much the same meaning. The vehicle pictured here is a great example of Jugaad innovation, no doubt cobbled together from available spare parts. But if it works, who cares? You may need to take such a cavalier attitude when it comes to manufacturing a product using local materials and local production facilities. Often, it's the only way to achieve ruthless affordability and provide the benefits your customers demand. These 8 keys to zero-based design don't tell the whole story, but they convey the open-minded attitude you'll need to succeed in building a company that can meet the needs of $2-a-day customers and help transform their lives. Take marketing, for example. Since you may be dealing with customers who are largely illiterate, you won't be able to make much use of print media to market your products and services. You'll need to adapt locally traditional communications media such as storytellers, singing troubadours, itinerant troupes of actors, and the local film industry. What's most important is to recognize that you're operating in an unfamiliar environment and to adapt. If your goal is to help put an end to global poverty, you might want to think about it as prosperity for all. Your business, built on the principles of zero-based design and conceived to benefit $2-a-day customers, will eventually bring prosperity to millions of villagers. But that's only the beginning. If you hire only local people to staff and manage your company, as Dr. Polak and I strongly urge you to do, then all your employees will benefit too, and so will you and your investors. This is capitalism at its best, and you'll find that your rewards are far more than financial, because there's nothing more satisfying than helping make the world a better place. Now you have an overview of the zero-based design process Dr. Polak and I have described. To get more information, I suggest you go to the URL on the bottom of this slide. There you can download a free 11-page excerpt from the book. On that same website, you can access a wealth of additional free resources. They're there for you. And stay tuned, we're working on an interactive online course based on the contents of our book. We'll let you know when it's available. And if, after you've read the book, you have questions, please drop me a note using my email address on the screen. I'll be happy to help you in any way I can. All the very best of luck to you.